Rotherham with us this evening. My wife, of course, who was the mayoress last year, and the current mayoress. And I think, if it's okay with yourselves, I'd like to, along with Mrs. Qureshi, just put our hands together and thank them, because quite often it's the partners that don't get the recognition that I think people in public life particularly enjoy. And so if it's okay with yourselves, I'd like to just give the two mayoresses a round of applause. As Mrs. Qureshi has alluded to, today I've been invited along not as the mayor of Rotherham, alas, all good things have to come to an end, but I've come along this evening as the Labour candidate that's running for the role, the newly created role of Police and Crime Commissioner. Now, for people that haven't heard of it or don't know anything about it, the Police and Crime Commissioner will replace the police authority that currently manage and oversee the police force here in South Yorkshire. There's 41 police forces across the country, all of which have a police authority made up of councillors, independent members and magistrates. And in South Yorkshire we currently have 17 members on our police authority, and I'm the vice chairman of that authority. And though the police authority will be abolished on the 22nd of November, 1 week after the election that will take place across South Yorkshire and across the country on the 15th of November. So on the 15th of November, everyone 18 and above across South Yorkshire, and there's over 1 million people entitled to a vote, will be able to go to the polls and elect one individual that they want to replace the police authority and manage the police force on their behalf. Now, the police force at the moment are facing huge unprecedented cuts in the services. We all know the voluntary sector are struggling at this point in time to survive. A lot of the grants, a lot of the money that flows through government and local authorities is drying up. And of course, part of the austerity has been applied to your police service as well, and they're currently having to manage through a 20% cut in their police budget, which equates to about a £46 billion reduction in policing services. And that in turn equates to obviously people that's out there fighting crime on our behalf as citizens. And we're going to lose, because of those 20% cuts, around 350 police officers and about 680 police support staff. Because actually your police service in South Yorkshire employs about 6,000 people. And it's about a 50-50 split. About half the people are police officers in uniform that we see out and about and doing the crime bit. But there's about another 3,000 people, including PCSOs, I hasten to add, that work in a sense doing back office functions, investigating crime, doing communications and HR and all the things that go into supporting the police force to keep them out there on the front line. And of course, because of those cuts, what we're starting to see for the first time in around about 15 years is a slowing down in the reduction of crime falling. Now, crime at this point in time in South Yorkshire is at the lowest it's been since 1990. Just imagine, the last time crime was this low, Mrs. Thatcher was the Prime Minister. Goodness me. But under Labour in power from 97 to 2010, crime fell by 43%. Fell by nearly a half. But under the previous government, from 79 to 1997, it doubled. So Labour have got a tremendous record on fighting crime. And what we did while we was in power, we invested in police officers. We had more police officers than we'd ever had in this country. Over that 13-year period, we had 16,500 extra police officers. We introduced PCSOs. That was an extra uniform, walking the beat, keeping an eyes and ears open, making us all feel safe. And of course, what we want to see is the retention of those PCSOs, because the government have removed the grants that paid for them. So now in some police forces we're starting to see the PCSOs removed, which is less uniform presence on our streets, which we all want to see. Another thing that the government are really driving forward at the moment is the privatisation of your police force. And in Lincolnshire, for example, not too far away from here, all the back office, and I talked about the 3,000 officers, the 3,000 support staff, all of their 3,000 support staff have now been privatised. They've gone out to a private company, a Capita, which is a FTSE 100 company. A multi-billion-pound company have now providing all the support services in Lincolnshire Constabulary. And we've seen what's happened in the recent Olympics with G4S. You know, can we really trust private companies to provide policing services to keep us all safe and secure? I don't think we can. I think it's a step too far. There's a place for the private sector in providing public services. There is a place, IT, HR, various back office functions, buildings management. There's a number of things, fleet management I can think where the private sector are actually very good and can add some real value. But we should never ever privatise uniform services or services involved in the public interface and investigating crimes, because it really is a dangerous step to make. And we're seeing it in other forces as well. West Midlands, the biggest police force outside the Met in London, have actually signed up on a contract with G4S to privatise a lot of their policing functions, including beat patrols. So there's going to be uniformed officers on the streets of Birmingham and Northampton that are going to have G4S and police on badged up as that. And Unite, the biggest union in our country, has done some recent research and have found that 60% of the people that responded to that consultation said that they wouldn't trust a private company with the sort of information that police rely on to resolve crime and fight crime. Would you really trust a private company to know all your details, to know some really emotive facts, some really important facts, to retain it and use it in a responsible fashion? And of course, if you don't trust a company to do that, then you're not going to report crimes. And so crimes are going to increase even more, and people aren't going to be caught and dealt with appropriately. So there's an awful lot out there that's happening at this point in time that a lot of people aren't aware of. And so it's incredibly important that on November the 15th, when everyone gets the ability to go and vote for their police commissioner, that they cast the vote for someone that's going to have their best interests at heart. And I merely say this as an individual and as a candidate, that I've invested 25 years serving the community. I've got a track record, not just on Rotherham Council, but working in the voluntary sector and the public sector, working as a trades unionist, working in various charities.